All right, guys. Hey, Mr. Neisler here. This is a video to help you if you're stuck in drafting the isometric view of your occasional table. So if you look at what I got here, this is like two-thirds of the way done. I have the tabletop drafted already. I have this leg drafted with the foot pieces, the filler pieces are all on there. Just as a reminder, you do need the other two parts of your plan handy while you're doing this isometric view. Here's our first page, or second page. This shows the tabletop. Tabletop's two of these, 6 inches by 20 inches. So it ends up being 12 by 20 total. So I had to, in my scale, 3 inches equals a foot. I had to use the architect scale to keep that exactly 20 inches or 1 foot 8 inches by 12 inches or 1 foot. Same thing with all these other pieces. I need to know which piece is which, and when I draft them, I need to keep them exactly the right size in my scale. On this isometric view, we're only using this 30-degree angle off the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Remember, when you're using these two tools together, the head of the T-square needs to be flat on your drafting board. You can see that right there. It's nice and flat on the drafting board. And then the triangle needs to be exactly flat on the blade of the T-square. And then you can slide it around wherever. It's always going to give you a 30-degree line. You can see there's my 30-degree line. There's my 30-degree line. Flip it over this way. There's my 30-degree line. All of these are 30 degrees. And everything's done to scale here. All right, so I want this isometric view to show me how all the pieces fit together so that when I'm building the table, I can just kind of refer to this and it'll tell me how each piece is going to, where each piece is oriented with each other piece. All right, so I need to draft another one of these legs. So if I look at page 1 of the plan, that's this piece here. It's going to be 6 inches. It's going to be 16 inches or 1 foot 4 inches because 12 minus 16 or 16 minus 12 is 4. It's going to have a 3/4 inch by 3 inch mortise in it for this center strut. So I'm going to draft one of these. I'm going to put the feet and everything on there like I did on the other side. Then I'm going to try to show where that center strut goes. Right. As far as where I put the leg, there's some flexibility there. I just want it to look kind of like it as realistic as possible and to give me the best idea of where it's going to go. So I think I'm going to put it probably about there. I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing it and putting this top 30-degree line where I think it should go. I'm going to draw it over the tabletop and then erase it later. All right, so there's a 30-degree line for where the leg's going to start. Now, when you're using a triangle, you don't have to flip your T-square around. You can just use this part of the triangle to draft your straight lines. Draft a line there. I'm doing them kind of light because I know I'm going to be erasing part of it. Now here I need to measure with my architect scale. As a reminder, we're putting this in 3 inches equals a foot, so I need to find this part of the architect scale. The quick way to find the 3 inches equals a foot part of the architect scale is every scale on there has this inches part. 3 inches equals a foot is the biggest scale, so it's going to have the biggest inches section, right? As a reminder, there's 2 scales on every side. That's what makes it kind of confusing at first. The 1.5 inches equals a foot scales go in the other direction. The little numbers are for the littler scale, so I got to kind of ignore this 2. I got to ignore that 4. So in my scale, There's 1 foot. There's 2 foot. There's all my inches. The 3, the 6, and the 9 are marked. I just have to use them to find the others. So there's 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, so forth. Top of that leg needs to be 6 inches. When I'm measuring, I measure on my lines. So when I'm measuring for an isometric view for my 30-degree line, my architect scale needs to be at 30 degrees. If I measure exactly horizontally, things are going to get weird. When I'm measuring on a vertical line, it just needs to be right on the line. All right, so I'm going to mark 6 inches. The length of it is 16 inches. Using the architect scale, I do need to convert that to feet and inches. That's 1 foot 4 inches. So if I put 1 foot right at the corner of that, and then I mark 4 inches, that's 1 foot 4 inches. Okay, so those are the only 2 measurements I need to finish this part of the piece. So I'm going to have 30-degree line right here. We have vertical line on that mark. Gonna erase my extra stuff. I think I'm just going to erase where this goes behind the tabletop. All right, so now, just like I did on this side, I'm in an isometric view. I want to make it look 3-dimensional. I want to make it look real. So, on my handy-dandy architect scale, I'm going to find the 3/4. If that's an inch, that's 3/4, right? Because there's quarter, half, 3/4, 1. So I need to measure all the thickness of the wood at 3/4 of an inch using my 3 inches equals a foot scale. So there's my 3/4 inch marks. That's all I need to do is just those 2, and then I can go ahead making sure all my stuff's set up correctly. Can draft these lines, flip this guy around, do that one. Got these 30-degree lines going this way. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. There's that first piece. All right. To get the center strut in the right place, I don't want to have to do a bunch of. I want it to look exact, right? So just like this other one, I'm going to put some center lines on it. I'm going to indicate that they're center lines by doing this dot dash pattern. Center 6 inches is 3 inches. Center of 16 inches is 8 inches. I have those 2 marks on there. Right here, I'm going to do a dash dot line, indicating that's the center of that leg. And this one needs to be at 30 degrees. So on that mark, do another little dash dot line. Okay, now referring back to this part of the plan, this mortise needs to be centered, needs to be 3 inches vertically, needs to be 3/4 of an inch horizontally. The way to get something like that on center marks is to know the center of that. So 3 inches, let's do that one first. half of 3 inches is 1.5 inches. So with my scale, I put 1.5 inches on this line, and then I mark, that's not right, that's right. And then I mark 0, and I mark 3. Now I have a 3-inch centered line. Okay? Just because it's hard to see my marks with all those dots and dashes, I'm going to go ahead and draw those while I have my eyeball on them. Just gonna draw them a little long and erase them later. All right, so there's the top and bottom of that mortise. Now this one's a little trickier. Half of 3/4 is 3/8, right? To half a fraction, you just double the denominator. So half of 3/4 is 3/8. So if I put 3/8 right on that line, in this particular scale, the very smallest lines are the eighths. I mark 0. I mark 3/4. And now I have a centered 3/4 inch mortise. Let's go ahead and do that. Just going to erase the center lines out of the middle part. And I can make this look 3D by putting this 30-degree line here. And then I want to show the back of it. Even though it's not much, I'm going to put a little 3/4 inch line right there just to show that's the back of the mortise. I think I missed that 3/4 measurement slightly. Close enough, man. All right. Okay. I'm cruising now. All right. Now I need to put all these different pieces that we're going to use to make the wicked pool feet of the table. As a reminder, that's this part of the plan. So I'm going to have one of these on each side at the bottom of that leg. It is a 3/4 inch board. It's 10 feet by 2 inches. And then as these little filler pieces, I'm going to have these 2 by 2 inch ones. So let's put the 10 inch by 2 inch piece over here, showing where it goes. There's, I draft the line first, measure second. So I'm going to mark 0 and mark 10. As far as where I put that, I was just putting it in the general area of where it's going to be when I assemble the table. All right, then I can go ahead and get my 2 inch mark on here. And then vertical line there, vertical line there, 30-degree line there. Erase the extra stuff. I wonder if that's the Blowthorn lumber delivery truck beeping out there. All right. So it's going to be 3/4 thick. I should have put it farther away. This is going to bother me. Now here is where I've modeled for you that no one is perfect. I could have just kept going. But it was going to kind of look dumb. Because I was going to run this piece into the other piece, and that was going to bug me. And every time I looked at it, I was going to be like, I screwed that up. But I have one of these. And I'm going to do it right, even if I have to do it again, because we make it nice when we do it twice. You know what I'm saying? All right. So where I screwed this up was I put that line too close to the leg. So I'm just going to redraw that line a little farther away from the leg, and I'm going to maybe center it a little better. Is that going to be far enough? I'm going to double check right now before I get any further. Because I don't want to do it thrice. Come on, man. I need to drink more coffee or something. All right, we're going to put it even a little bit further than that. Again, remembering doing it wrong doesn't get us any closer to being done. Because it's not done till it's done right. All right. Pretty confident that's going to get me far enough away from that other piece. There we go. Draft this other line and then decide where my draft that other line. Now I'm going to measure. That is a, what is it? It's 10 inches. Let's go 0, 10. All right, 2 inches this direction. 2. Oops. All right, here we go. Okay, I think the whole most important thing to learn from that part is when you know you're screwing it up, stop. Take a breath, erase it, do it right. All right, now I need, and this is the hard part, right? Where we have all these little pieces to try to draft and not have them run into each other and have them like be actually useful instead of just a bunch of weird lines. All right, so next piece I'm going to draft is this little 2x2 filler piece. Show where that goes. Two inches that way. It's 2 inches this way. Quarters. I really only need to measure that 3/4 once. I put it right there because then I can just do it that way. Do it this way. All right, there's my 2x2. Kind of a weird spot floating up there, but that's all right. All right, I'm gonna lap this other long piece on, I think, at this point. And put it up about right here. It's the 10 by 2. Zero. Mark 10. Two. Oh, I probably should have done the other little one first. That's all right. It'll work out. All right, erase some extra stuff. Make that look 3D. Right now, it just looks like a piece of paper, right? That line. There's this one. There's my 3 coldens right here. Now I got to put this one other little block in here. It's going to be a little weird because I probably should have done it first, but it's going to be fine. All right, so we put it, I think, right here. All right, it's 2 inches. 2 inches. And when I put the center strut in, I'm going to end up doing a lot of erasing. That's just the way it is. Erase that. Make it look 3D. Down. 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 Erase this part. Block in the spot. But I think that's all right. Kind of shows how all those pieces fit together, which is the purpose of it. All right, and now the trickiest last part, the missing piece, is I need to get this center strut drafted in there, sort of where it goes. What I'm going to do. I've done all this. I probably should have lined those 2 legs up. See, I could have lined those 2 legs up and it would have been probably a little more clear, but I think it's going to be fine. All right, so there's the bottom of my mortise. I'm going to make that on this side the bottom of the strut. And I think with the strut, for the purposes of this drawing, we could probably make it like we're just showing half of it, or either that or we just compress it. All right, so there is that mortise. It's right there. So let's show what the mortise is. I can flip this around. It's going to show the bottom of the mortise, right? Okay. So what I did was I just drafted that plane over here. So it's going to get erased. It's going to help me start this piece kind of lined up where I want it lined up. The tongue of that center strut fits into the mortise, so it needs to be 3 inches. There's a 3-inch mark. Now I've drafted that end. I think that's a good starting point. Okay, that end, 3 inches, 2 inches is where the strut becomes full width. When it's full width, it's 6 inches wide, just like the legs. So now these lines, that line right there is going to go back 2 inches. So is that one. So it's this one. Measure back 2. That's where it's going to go to a full width. So right there, that's going to be a vertical line. Maybe a 30-degree line going this way. Another vertical line. I look back at this part of the plan. So what I'm drafting right now is this. That is 1.5 inches, right? Because it goes from 3 inches to 6 inches, which means each little cutoff piece is 1.5 inches. So right here, I can measure 1.5 inches, make a mark. Then probably just go ahead and measure 6 inches down from there to get my full width. 6. Put those 30-degree line in there so I don't lose my 1.5 inch mark. And I'll draw this other line. There's that. This is where it goes all the way down to here. Right there, we're going to have 30-degree lines going back this way. So 30-degree line right there. So line up with this line. Go back like this. And this is where I got to decide like how to make this useful in terms of assembly. So we can do like a little lightning kind of a line through something to show that it's not that part of the drawing is not to scale. I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to show both sides of the strut just so I understand that it's going to be on both sides. But I'm not going to actually, I don't think, measure that 1'4". But let me see what it would look like if I did. So if I put the piece and I actually measured the 1'4", it would be all the way up here. And it would cover up a lot of this. And I think it would make it less useful. So I'm just going to end it right where I have that line. That's going to be where the other part of it, that's where going to be where the other tongue starts, I think. Draft that line and erase just to make it easier on myself. Transfer these lines over. So that's going to be where that tongue sticks out thusly. Again, that tongue is 3 inches by 2 inches. So 2 inches right here. Show end spot. Erase some stuff. Fill in. All right. Almost there. I need to put a little couple back there to make that look 3D. All right. There we go. Almost there. A couple lines I want to be a little darker. Redraw a couple of these to darken them up. All right, how are we doing? Let's get in there. So I'm going to put like a little lightning bolt through this so I know that that's not measured. That's just telling me that this piece has been compressed. Anything else I want in there? All right, I think one thing we want to do before we kind of write some step-by-step instructions of how to build this thing is, I think to make this more clear, let's label all 3 drafts just with some letters for what each piece is, and then label the isometric. So I'm gonna call this, the legs are gonna be A, strut's gonna be B, top's gonna be C, sides of the feet are gonna be D, the filler pieces are gonna be E. This little piece that we can't see from the isometric view because it's on the underside of the table top, and we'll call that F. And now we're going to go through and just label our isometric so we know what each piece is. So this is A, center strut B, tabletop, I'm going to say C times 2, so that I know there's 2 of them. Matter of fact, why don't we just put a little dotted line down that just to show that it's, it's 2 pieces put together. So I marked the 6-inch center of it. And now I'm just going to draft a light line that shows we're joining 2 pieces together to make that tabletop. All right, now back to labeling. Sides of the feet are D. Little filler pieces are E. I think it's a pretty good plan. I think I have a fighting chance of being able to build this table. based on this plan. We're going to do some step-by-step instructions before I set you loose. There went my architect scale in the shop. What else do we need? What else do we need? I'm going to make a little note here. Not drawn to scale horizontally. So I know I modified that center strut on the drawing. What else do I need to do at this point? I think we're about there. All right, I'm going to post this to Classroom, and hopefully, if you get a little stuck, put your earbuds in, watch this video, pause it, and draft the isometric view.